Breaking news. Tonight, extraterrestrials walk among us. I am responsible for the moon landing, and while you sleep, at night you swallow, and I'm quoting, 12 tarantulas. Proof! So all of those were untrue, but you've probably heard things just like it for years. I mean, the internet is basically a big pool of gasoline for falsehoods, fake news, and conspiracy theories. A study last May looked at some 126,000 tweets retweeted over 3 million times over the last 10 years. It probably won't shock you to find out the study learned falsehoods were 70% more likely to get retweeted than accurate news. It probably also won't shock you that falsehoods could create retweet chains 10 times faster than accurate news. The study's authors found bots promote false and true information equally. Humans, on the other hand, prefer false information. And this is probably because accurate news is boring. On the other hand, false content is often scary and anger-inducing. I mean, what are you more likely to read? An article comparing the proposed policies of several candidates, or about how one has secret plans to sell children? I am, of course, referring to Pizzagate, in which Edgar Madison Welch, a 28-year-old man, fired 3 shots from an AR-15 style rifle into Comet Ping Pong, a pizza restaurant in Washington, D.C. Welch did so on the belief, thanks to reading fake news online, that the restaurant was at the center of a child trafficking ring that was connected to Hillary Clinton. Now, this is pretty much the best/worst example of the dangers posed by fake news online, but this is kinda not what I want to talk about in this video. So first, let's get some terminology straight. When I say fake news, I mean completely untrue, 100% fabricated stories. This is different from the president's use of fake news.
That we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake.
Regardless of how you feel about him, Trump clearly uses the term fake news to refer to news organizations who run stories he doesn't like. But that's something for a different video, and pretty much all I'm going to say about our president right now. Which is another big problem right now. The moment someone says something we remotely disagree with, well...
Sir? Sir, are you listening to me, sir? Sir, I'm talking to you!
So that's one issue I'd like to address in this video. The other is bad news. Look, even before our scrutiny of fake news, for a long time people have been telling the news badly. Part of this is a byproduct of the format. If you're a newscaster and you only have a half an hour to cover all of the news of the day, some corners are gonna have to get cut.
Field notes!
Thanks, Janet. Okay, so a cat escaped from his house, stole a car, held up a gas station for some cash, cigarettes, and tuna cans. He now remains at large. But evidence suggests the cat's owners have been extremely negligent for years, bordering on animal cruelty, perhaps suggesting a more complicated motive on the cat's part. Getting a little tight on time, Tom. We might have to shave off the owner part and just leave in the cat. Context inevitably gets left out of daily headlines, which isn't always someone's fault. However, sometimes it is people's fault. Bias is something that is ultimately unavoidable, but I expect journalists to do their best to remove their bias as best they can. But some simply don't care. Due to both of these problems and others that I simply can't cram into one video, the news often is focused on the wrong things. As an example, only 10% of the total press coverage of the 2016 election had anything to do with policy. The problem is, at the end of the day, anything that creates bad or fake news, be it Russian bots, politicians, newscasters, journalists, people on Twitter, know something 19th century newspaper boys knew. Extra, extra, read all about it. Senate continues to set up a new bill. Democracy proceeding as best it can. People won't read boring stories. Oi, hot off the presses! President and Pope found in bed with Russian agent. You won't believe who beat on who now. But the odds are stacked against us. Unfortunately, the best solution would be for our social media platforms to get better at weeding out fake and dangerous information before they gain too much traction. But most have shown a complete unwillingness to do so. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook has even gone as far as to say he won't take down posts by Holocaust deniers, saying, quote, "And I want to get this right. I don't believe that our platform should take that down because I think there are things that different people get wrong." Because as everyone knows, denying millions of Jewish people didn't die is the same thing as complaining about a politician on Facebook. I need a fucking drink. Okay, so until social media gets together, here's just some quick tips on how to get good information on the internet. Be careful what you share or retweet. Don't retweet things that you yourself have not read. I am way guilty of this too. The temptation is real. Resist it. Protect your followers. Resist it. Resist it. Also, watch out for memes. I love memes. Sometimes I think Sad Keanu is the only thing that gets me through the day. But memes about news or politics freak me out. I don't even know what's going on here, but it can't be good. Hey Jake, let's do a video about how the minions from the Despicable Me movies became the face of the anti-vax movement somehow.
Roger that, good buddy.
Restrict your daily exposure to the news, especially televised news, especially 24-hour cable news. I know, but at the end of the day, those news sources are businesses who need you to keep watching. Why do you think the dominant program type on Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC is the group talk show? Because what's the best way to take up time? Having a group of so-called experts talk for 3 hours every single morning. Honestly, I'd be all for the format if they use some of that time to cover context or the history of a news story. Seriously, you have like 15 hours of airtime a week. Please use some of that time to talk about I don't know, the history of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. No, you're gonna talk over each other for 20 minutes about one of the president's tweets? Good work. In fact, in 2017, Jeff Zucker, CNN's president, had this to say. As Zucker sees it, his pro-Trump panelists are not just spokespeople for a worldview. They are characters in a drama. Members of CNN's extended ensemble cast. Gonna need another. Search out long-form media. I'm talking nonfiction books, magazine articles, and documentaries. Stuff the author has spent a long time researching. Is this perfect? Nope. There are plenty of bad and biased books and documentaries out there, but there is a greater chance for nuance. Personally, I recommend The Atlantic and The Economist. Read the source material if you can. Time is often in short demand, which makes all of these tips difficult, but this one in particular. When you can, read the sources a journalist is using. You can always find ours in the description below. A perfect example right now is the Mueller report. Both sides of the political spectrum are talking about it, and whether intentional or not, they are going to focus on what their base is more interested in. So go read it for yourself. It's available for free online, or you can be a f***ing nerd and buy it like myself. You can also listen to it. Several news sources made audio versions of it. Memorize base statistics. That word sounds wrong to me now. When someone makes a particularly bold claim involving numbers, you can at least tell if it sounds credible or not. For example, the Congressional Budget Office projects the 2019 federal budget to be $4.4 trillion. It also predicts the US government to only bring in $3.5 trillion in revenue. The US spends $752.9 billion on the military and $850.5 billion on Social Security. You need to read the Congressional Budget Office stuff once in a while. They have a Twitter, there's no excuse. Some of its reports are kind of funny, but all of it is fascinating. Another great resource is usafacts.org. All it is just publicly released government data on spending, immigration, poverty rates, you name it. And finally, challenge your own thinking. As humans, we tend to think we know more than we do. Read and watch things that challenge your opinions. As Americans, we hold up the values of heroism and courage, and I can hardly think of something more heroic or courageous than willingly exposing yourself to something that might change your worldview. And there you have it, some relatively quick tips on how to navigate the news in 2019. Wow, I'm drunk. If you want an example of these tips in action, I can't think of a better example than Pantsuit Politics. It's a podcast by Sarah Stewart Holland and Beth Silvers. Or you could read their book, I Think You're Wrong, But I'm Listening. They are both working moms from opposite ends of the political spectrum, and they work really hard to make sure that all of their coverage of politics is in-depth, nuanced, and bipartisan. They are way, way better at this than I am. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please hit that subscribe button and share this with someone that you love, or at least someone you want to get along with. One last plug, the beer you've been watching me chug is called #Fake Juice by the Mommy Bay Brewing Company. They're local here in Toledo where I live. They don't sponsor us or anything, but I don't feel like it's fair to chug their work on the internet without plugging for them, so the link to their website is in the description below. And have a great Rest of your week. I'm gonna go drink to the Mueller report. See ya.